That doesn't look like a Facebook error. Was that an error?
No.
Oh, okay.
Warning, the Catholic Man Show is about to begin. If you're looking for dull, feel-good religion, or clap your hands, sit around the campfire kumbaya, you've come to the wrong place. We are dealing with toxic levels of authentic masculinity. I would say good luck, but luck is for pagans.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side, so raise your glass. I'm Adam Minahan, sitting here with David Niles. We have Sir Posada
I'm here.
on the buttons this evening. We are not with Jim. Jim is not here. He is not here this evening, but that's okay. We are also having this evening the Wise Man. It's a Kentucky Owl product, the Wise Man Bourbon, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 45.4% alcohol. I'm excited about it because Kentucky Owl has very expensive whiskeys. Some of their whiskeys start out at $300.
Wow.
However, this one is relatively new, and it is less than 50, I think.
Okay.
So, if I remember correctly, I think it was about $48.
It's going to be terrible.
$48, I think is what it was.
Nice. I was just kidding about that.
We're doing this on a different night this evening, recording on a different night. We have the Tulsa Catholic Radio. They've just poured a ridiculous glass for one.
It wasn't that big.
We have our Catholic Radio fundraiser this Friday. So if you're listening to this show live on Catholic Radio currently, please say a quick prayer that for the success of the fundraiser, that we continue to focus on God's will, that we can continue to help evangelize the people here in Tulsa and eastern Oklahoma.
This might be the most stressful week of the year for me.
It's the last actually 4 weeks, right after Halloween to Theology of the Tower, is always crazy for us. We always
for the radio station.
Because the radio station, and it seems like we have several Catholic Man Show projects or just other things that we're trying to finish up.
Ooh. That is delicious.
I haven't even. I've sat here and waited for you because you guys were all doing
dude.
something, and I waited so
know.
you could cheers. And
well, let's do that now because it's good. I want to do that again. The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to Jesus.
Cheers, one. So what I was saying is we have just so many things that are going on. You have deer season that happens during this time that you have to capitalize on. And then this year we also we went to Allentown, Pennsylvania.
I think you should be allowed to kill a deer year-round. However, if it's not in the traditional deer season, you have to catch it with your hands. Like, that should be a rule, that if you can physically bring down a deer with nothing but your body, I think you get to kill it.
I mean, thinning out the herd.
Why are you so tired and filthy? Been hunting.
Yeah.
You catch anything? No. It's really hard.
But we went to Allentown, Pennsylvania for the men's conference.
Yeah.
And then we also went to
in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
We also went to Waco or West Texas, outside of Waco, and College Station, Texas. And so we threw that in the mix, and then we also threw in the mix trying to finish up our manuscript that we're writing.
Yeah.
So between all of that,
which we're not exactly supposed to talk about.
We're allowed to talk. We're just not allowed to talk about it.
The
details.
No deets.
No details.
No deets.
Turns out we found out. We're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
But so we threw in a couple extra projects this year.
A manuscript that we may or may not be writing.
That may or may not be published.
That's right.
That's more the
Yeah.
that's more the question.
Well, also it's a question of may or may not be writing it.
Right.
There's been a lot of not been writing it.
Yes. But we hopefully by January next year it will be published and available. We will have more details on that soon. So,
January.
did I say January? I meant July.
I'll tell you, January is not.
Did
gonna
I say
happen.
January
You said
1?
January.
I'm so sorry. I meant July.
Is that some of the deets we're not supposed to be saying?
We can say those deets.
Okay.
Especially if you throw them off.
Yeah.
Especially if the details are wrong.
Let's talk about this whiskey. I want to talk about it.
So we're having the Wise Men. We're going to talk about Advent this evening. We're going to talk about preparing for Christmas, ways that you can start traditions within your family of how to have a holy and fruitful Advent
Yeah.
during this penitential time. And it's very appropriate, I felt like, that we have a Wise Man whiskey. I mean, Epiphany would have been better. I get it.
Yep.
But sometimes they don't link up that way.
Well, you know what? The way this is hitting me so far, I say we do it again.
Really?
Yeah. This is fantastic.
On the nose, I get banana nut bread and maple.
There's not a whole. It's not really strong on the nose. You know.
Oh, I see, man. I immediately said banana, maple,
No,
vanilla.
I just mean it's not a powerful aroma. Sometimes there are some whiskeys you pour and you can the glass can still be sitting on the table and you can smell it from your chair. You know what I mean? To me, that's not a super strong smell. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay.
You don't think so? Feel free.
Oh no, I was just. I
You're
stopped
just-
listening to you.
You're just in your own world.
Yes. Interesting. Okay, so the beginning of this was a lot sweeter than what I was expecting. The front.
Did you try it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Sweet at the very beginning, in my opinion, with the hints of vanilla, caramelized something like a sweetness to it. A little bit of that banana, but then at the backside it turns because it tastes stronger proof. It tastes like a stronger proof than what it is. I think it heats up and it tastes
like-
more peppery, a little bit more fire.
It's like a reverse Sour Patch.
Except for it didn't get sour
With the spice.
with the spice. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, as we go throughout the evening,
Yeah.
I'll let you know
I
my
think it's-
thoughts.
especially if it's under $50. Like that's really good.
Nice medium long finish.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's better than that Templeton that we had. Of course, that was a rye recently, but we also had that Forester 1920. I think that one was a little bit better than this one. But it is a very interesting bourbon, especially if it's Kentucky Owl. I'm not super familiar with Kentucky Owl, probably because most of their whiskeys are higher dollar, which would make sense, was why I'm not
Right.
as familiar with it.
Yeah.
But I like the label as well, and I'm a sucker for presentation. I like the label. I think that it looks classy. It fits the part. I like it. So far, I'm a fan.
Me too.
So
Where did you get it?
the liquor store.
Yeah. Which one?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Typically, I get my whiskey from a liquor store.
Guided by wisdom and crafted with knowledge.
Nice. So
It's
anyway,
like, that's one of those things. Is like, does that mean something? I can't tell.
is that just words put together?
Is that it's like that sounds like something important, but is that just something? I like it.
So the Bible study, you're doing a Bible study currently, but the book club that we're doing with the patrons, several of our guys that I meet with every week, we're doing a book from Gary Gould-Lagrange, Father Gary Gould-Lagrange, called Thomistic Common Sense. It's a tough book. It's been very fruitful thus far. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was getting a chance. You know, when you get a chance to just meet with a group of guys every single week, you get to know them better. You get to understand
Sure,
their
yeah.
life. And one of the things that we were talking about recently was how to. They appreciated the last year's episode that we did when we talked about Advent,
Mm-hmm.
and how like the the practicalities of what to do, what not to do, and that we were talking more, and I realized that, man, that they were giving me a lot of good ideas, and they said basically we could definitely do another show on it because we didn't touch on all the things that we could possibly talk about, obviously.
Oh yeah.
And so when we were trying to figure out what topic to do this week, I was really glad that we decided on this because, one, it helps me. Listening to them, it actually puts me, it puts me back in check of striving to do better. Listening to what they're doing, it's like, oh man, I didn't even think about doing that. I'm not doing that. I should up my game. Mm-hmm. Another benefit of having holy friends. But then also just like
you would know. I'm not sure that I have any,
but at least you can see the fruits. But anyway, so I was glad that we were going to be able to talk about this evening.
Me too. Yeah, because you're right. I mean, Advent. Advent's totally the like the stepbrother of Lent. It's it's also a penitential season. Mm-hmm. It's purple. It's the other purple season. But I think it's like one people they're not nearly as intentional about.
It's become more almost like a party instead of the preparing of Christ coming.
Exactly. Instead of preparing for the feast, we do a lot of the feasting. That's kind of a Protestant thing where they feast up until the day and then they stop. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right. The fast should come before the feast.
Right. You have to prepare for the feast before you feast. So
when we get back, we're going to talk about vices.
Vices.
Not what you think. We'll be back.
Yeah, for some reason YouTube started and like 20 seconds into it.
It was 4 seconds. It stops. Yeah.
I was wondering what you guys were doing. You guys sitting there talking.
Did you start it again?
No, because
I
have to stop Facebook if I do that.
No, it's fine.
I don't think you do.
Just don't worry.
You can stop and start one of the video streams without stopping all of them.
Well,
see, click that button, the settings.
It's okay. Just don't.
See how at the bottom it says stop all or stop one? Now go to the second one. Now it says stop all.
Start to?
Yeah, or start to. See? So you can click that button.
But don't do it now because we don't want to stream just the second half. I'll just put it up. No big deal.
Okay. I mean, you can.
It's no problemo.
Oh, because you've got the video. We're still recording the video.
Yeah.
Okay.
See.
Mucho.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles. Here with Adam Minahan. We're sans Jimbo Baggins today. I feel vulnerable about the bodyguard here. Anybody, I mean just anybody, could stroll up to your front door, break into the house. They'd have to obviously get past the deadbolt and other things. But they could just totally get in.
Without our bodyguard here.
And then come upstairs and get in here.
Mm-hmm.
And be
and
all
look
like
at all this whiskey in here.
Mischievous or whatever
be ridiculous.
They would do. Anyway, I'm just going to try not to think about it, and I'm just going to carry on.
My wayward son.
Yeah. Okay, so Man Gear today is a vice.
I prefer virtue.
I do too. Over this summer at our camp out, I was talking to George Carpenter, the blacksmith of Clear Creek, Our Lady of Clear Creek Abbey. Master blacksmith, master carver, master artisan. Very interesting guy. And we were talking about the show and just about, different things, and he kind of looks down, he says, "Dave, I'm a man of many vices." And I mean that I own many vices. And as he said that, right behind him he pointed, and he had a table with like 8 or 9 vices on it. It was a good moment. It was very funny. And actually, the guy is a man of many vices. I will tell you.
You tried to play that joke in our Pennsylvania talk, and it did not land as well.
No, that's okay. You can't win them all.
Can't win them all.
Save it for the conference, for the comedy conference.
Yeah, we'll fine tune it for the comedy
I'll work
conference.
on it. I'm gonna work on it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's got potential.
It's just we gotta get our chops down, man. We gotta get our chops.
That's right.
Get into the groove.
So, I have had a bench vice, on my list for a couple years. The problem is, unless you want something that's just junk, it's expensive.
That is accurate.
And if you don't believe me, get online and look at reviews of people who bought $100 vice, and they said I used it one time and the whole neck cracked, or the jaws broke right off or something.
Right.
And so I didn't want that. And so you kind of have to spend about $200 before you get something that starts to have positive reviews. And that's all I'm judging it on is the reviews.
The thing about manufacturing in America is we know how to make quality things, but you just have to pay for it. That's the thing.
So there's only one vice manufacturer left in America. It's Wilson. Will you look that up, Juan? Wilson Vices? I think that's
the one I have. I thought it was Watson, but it may be Wilson.
Well, if you have a Wilson Vice, it's worth about $1,000.
I got mine at a secondhand store.
Yeah. So brand new.
Wilton,
that's what it is. That's what you have. You have a Wilton Vice?
I have a Wilton Vice.
No kidding. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. It's a big one.
That is, so that's cream of the crop right now. I was looking at a Yost Vice, which Yost seems to have pretty good reviews. It's still it's a Chinese company, just like all the other Vice manufacturers. There used to be a lot in Germany and Europe, but now they're all in China, except for Wilton. Is that what it was? Wilton. So the cheapest Wilton I could find was $1,500.
Wow, $1,500
on Amazon anyway. So
Guess what? I just have a new Vice. It's on the market.
Yeah, I know. I will totally sell that thing. I'll take a Chinese one for $1,000. Thank you. So I had this Yost I was looking at. It was really, it had the pipe grip on one side. It had a
did it swivel?
Anvil, yes, 360-degree swivel.
Nice.
But I was thinking, I cannot buy a Vice without calling my blacksmith friend, George Carpenter. Talking to him. And so we got to talking, and he said...
Did he talk you out of it?
No, he didn't. He encouraged me to, hold off and...
Go find one at a secondhand store.
And the thing is, you'll have to restore it, and maybe you don't want to do that. And if you don't want to do it, then just get a new one. But he said, the truth is he doesn't know much about new Vices because all the ones he has are, 100 years old or more. Mm-hmm. He says you can just go to pawn shops or even antique shops and say, where's the rust?
Right.
Where do you keep the rust?
Mm-hmm.
And, you will have to restore them. But literally, this is what he said to me at the end of our phone conversation. He said, Dave, God has a Vice out there for you that he wants you to have.
And you're like, I know, I've been to college. I have many of them.
I'm trying to unload them. Yeah. He said, he does, Dave. He's got a Vice picked out for you, and he's got one in mind that he wants you to have. And it was like, yeah, well, okay. Yeah, maybe it's this new one I'm looking at here.
Right. On Amazon.
So night.
Can have it here by tomorrow.
That night, we went over to my dad's house to watch the Bedlam game. Which...
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
Go Pokes.
My son, he's 1.5. When OSU scored their first touchdown...
Did he wave the wheat?
I said, Davey, wave your wheat. And I put my hand up like this, and he did it.
Yes.
It's
a great mimic. You can mimic that.
We didn't even practice it. He just nailed it.
Love it.
So I'm over there eating dinner and telling my parents that, I could talking to George, about Vices. And my mom goes, oh, well, a couple days ago, I just dug one up out of the ground outside. I said, what? She's like, yeah, I was digging and I hit something. And so I kept digging around it and it's a huge Vice. And I said, Are you serious? Let me see it. And so
You gotta be kidding me.
here it is on screen right here. It's a Holland's Vice. It's number 93, which I have not been able to find the number 93 online. It's not in any of the catalogs that are left. So this company, Holland's, was started in 1887, and they originally started making burners, but then they quickly expanded their manufacturing and became one of the number one manufacturers in the world. And they were bought out in 1956. And so this Vice, I mean, who knows how old it is?
God already had a Vice.
I mean,
in
it's like
mind for
literally
you.
that day, George is telling me, you know, Dave, he's got a Vice for you. I mean, he's got one for you. He wants you to have. And then, like, hours later, my mom said, oh, really? I dug one up out of the ground outside.
That
You
is
know,
so
it's
crazy.
It reminds me, like, yeah, I went fishing and I caught this fish, and there were 2 coins inside. Do you think that means something? And so what I've done is I took it home. If you saw it in the picture right there, and if you didn't see the picture, you can go watch our YouTube channel. It took, like maybe 30, 45 minutes of not super dedicated work, but kind of casually scraping and wire brushing to get it in that condition. It's seized up. It doesn't turn. So what I'm doing is I built an electrolysis tank. So electrolysis is it's the best way of removing rust, certainly that I know of. But what you do is you just take a tank and you fill it with water. So you need something that's plastic that you could submerge your rusted item in. And then you have to put some other metal, some scrap metal or something, non-galvanized, just like regular old steel, something else that will rust. So I'm using rebar, have rebar around, and I'm just using a plastic trash can. And those are all wired together, just with regular copper wire.
Okay.
And so then I'm hanging the Vice into the water, also using copper wire. So that copper wire sticks up out of the water. And I have a 12-volt car battery charger. And you add sodium carbonate to the water. It's Arm & Hammer super washing soda. That's what you want to get. Arm & Hammer super washing soda. They sell it basically everywhere.
Don't get the regular washing soda. Get the super.
Yeah.
Figure out what's going to kill you and then back it off just a little bit.
Right. So sodium carbonate is baking soda is sodium bicarbonate. This is sodium carbonate. Basically, it allows the water to conduct electricity a little bit better.
Okay.
Because water actually does not conduct electricity, just so you know. If you have distilled water, it will not conduct electricity. It's actually the impurities and other things in the water that actually are conducting the electricity. So you put that in there, and basically you hook it up. You run a current through it. So you actually want to put the negative needs to be hooked up to the thing that you have that's rusted. Because people think
The rebar.
Yeah, not the
case.
rebar.
Oh.
The Vice.
Oh, the Vice. Okay.
Yeah, that you're trying to clean. People think that electricity goes from positive to negative. It doesn't. It goes from negative to positive. When they invented when they were discovering electricity, they thought, oh, it's the protons that are the electricity. And so all of the formulas actually for electricity that we use in physics and science, they're all actually wrong. You're actually solving for a negative number, and they didn't know it. Now, so if you're doing these formulas and come up with like an answer of 5, really the answer is -5. It doesn't matter. They all still work.
Okay.
So you hook the negative up because you want the electricity to flow from your rusted thing to the other rebar.
Okay.
So it's similar to like plating when you would gold plate stuff, sort of, that you're taking the rust off and kind of sending it over to the rebar. So I've got it soaking in there right now. It's severely rusted. I think it's going to take about 48 hours. But my hope is when I pull it out that it's going to be like new.
Are you going to try to coat it? Like put some paint?
I don't know. I'm going to see what it looks like still when I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely going to have to oil it at least. Otherwise, it's just going to rust.
You
I mean, it's
definitely
gonna-
oil it. But if I were you, I'd put like Rust-Oleum paint on it or something like that.
Yeah.
Outside of the grips and things like that.
I'm going to look it up because like if it rusts a little bit, that might be okay. Like, Rust actually will preserve things in a certain way, but
Sure.
I'm gonna look into that. What's the best thing to do?
It's a good idea.
Because sometimes you paint it and now it's like, oh, it's not worth as much. You ruined it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, let's talk about Advent.
Okay, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Our drink of choice this evening is The Wise Man by Kentucky Owl. Just got done talking about Vice and the ridiculous story that Dave had on finding a vice. We talk about Advent. As we discussed in the first segment, Dave, a lot of times it's been Advent is a feast or a festival leading up to Christmas, and in fact, it's a penitential season.
Right.
It's preparing ourselves. Father Define here in Tulsa, his homily this last week was preparing ourselves for the mercy and the judgment of Christ. Right. So you're preparing yourself twice for two comings. The coming of mercy that Christ became flesh, that God became flesh and incarnate and entered this world to save us, and then the coming of our judgment because he comes into this world to save us. Then it which follows to the judgment, your judgment. So it's the coming of mercy and the coming of judgment. And so we should be preparing ourselves for this, right? We should be weeding out any vice that we have, any apathetic tendencies that we have, any slothful habits that we have, to prepare ourselves and be mindful of the four last things. That's really what Advent is supposed to remind us of, is the four last things.
Death, judgment, heaven, and hell.
Yes. In order to prepare ourselves for the Word becoming flesh.
I think the kind of the defining characteristic of the Advent season is hope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that, to me, that's what it is. It's a hopeful season, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not Lent. It's different from Lent. It's a penitential season kind of in a different way. Here's what I'm doing for Advent this year, personally. I know that I desire a deeper commitment to the Holy Mass. You look at the saints; they go to Holy Mass
every day.
Every day.
Every day.
I mean, basically.
There's a
without
reason
fail.
probably why most saints or canonized saints are priests or religious nuns.
Yeah, because they have the time to dedicate like that. And even the ones who aren't priests or religious nuns, they still go to Mass every day.
Every day.
I mean, obviously there's like hermits who couldn't do that, but still. So what I'm doing is, here in the first week of Advent, I'm adding one daily Mass throughout the week.
In addition to what you're already doing. 'Cause
Yeah.
You go to two
Well,
typically?
I was going to daily Mass like every Friday. That was part of my until COVID hit, and then things got the schedule just doesn't. It's not there anymore. Like, that Mass isn't offered anymore.
Oh, okay.
That was because I used to go right before work on Friday, right after adoration, and before work, go to Mass. It's a great way to start a Friday with an hour of adoration, the holy sacrifice of the Mass. Get to work in a great mood every Friday. So, but that was like a year and a half ago. So I'm adding one Mass the first week. In the second week of Advent, I will go to 2 Masses throughout the week. In the third week of Advent, I will go to, you guessed it, 3 Masses. And it works this year because I think Christmas is on a Saturday this year. So I'll be able to go to 4 Masses on the fourth week of Advent. That will not always be the case. If Christmas is on a Monday, you're not going to 4 daily Masses. But so that's what I'm doing. Excited about it because it's making me do, I think, what you should be doing in Advent. I'm having to look ahead and plan. I'm having to kind of anticipate things that are coming. which that's kind of the basic thing that we do in Advent.
Well, it's the basic thing of how you grow in holiness is
That's
preparing yourself for what is to come. I mean, you talk about this several times on the show, Dave. Like, unless you have thought about a scenario and how you would react when the scenario comes up, if you have not thought about that scenario, sometimes you freeze or you panic or you don't do what you think you should do because you haven't thought out the whole thing in your head ahead of time. And so this is...
And sometimes in that moment, that's not the best time to, like, break things down logically.
Right.
It's a time of action. Yeah.
So
I don't know if other people are like that, but I'm definitely like that. Where
this is the virtue of foresight, being able to see ahead and being prepared to grow in holiness.
So
and what is to come.
So I wanted to talk about caroling. We did that.
We need to get that on the schedule. I thought about that
last
yesterday.
year.
We need to get that on our calendar.
And
quick.
caroling is also, you can do it in Advent, but I think it's also really a Christmas thing. So like if you do it in like, especially during the octave of Christmas, I think that's a really great time to go caroling. Your neighbors might think it's weird that you're singing Christmas carols after Christmas, because everybody
after Christmas Day.
Everybody thinks after Christmas Day. Thank you. That's what we talked about kind of there for a second. Everybody thinks, oh, it's Christmas season now, and then is the day Christmas is over on December 26th.
Conclusion of
now it's about like New Year's.
Right.
Put all the Christmas stuff away. I mean, people will literally take their Christmas tree down the day after Christmas.
Right. It's just a tragedy.
But they just don't know.
Still a tragedy.
It is. You're right. But it's they just don't know.
Right.
Yeah. So caroling though, I think is very fitting in the Advent season and in the Christmas season. I think it just changes what songs you.
Right, in the Advent, because didn't last year we sang "O Come, O Come, Emmanuel"?
Yeah.
Like that's basically the Advent song.
There are like a couple other Advent songs out there. They're not well known. That's the thing. But there's a couple about Our Lady. There's one about that mentions Mary being pregnant. I forget what it's called.
Mary, did you know?
Yes.
That's Mary, did you know? That's the one.
I know it's like very popular for Catholics to hate on that song. First of all, it gets stuck in my head a lot.
It is a catchy tune.
I like to sing it. It's a good song to sing.
It's a catchy tune.
You can it's
heretical, but it is.
You can really tune. Power sing that song, right? It's just. But I
know nothing about power singing. But
I like to use that song as an apologetic as a way of explaining Mary to Protestants, because that song is exactly like Mary. The song is all like when we have devotion to Mary. That song is about Mary. You're singing to Mary. You're asking Mary. But the whole song is about Jesus. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think it's a good analogy for explaining a Catholic's relationship with Mary.
Sure.
Because that's what it is. It's like, oh, you're singing and talking to Mary this whole song. That's... you're getting in the way of Jesus, right? Yeah. It's like, no, the song's about Jesus. Everything Marian is ultimately, it's always Christocentric. So I understand and agree. The song is heretical, but
we need to get caroling on the calendar.
You're right. So we've done that 2 years?
No, last year was the first year.
Okay, no, I did it 2 years. Then yes, I did it with like my parents and Pamela's parents the year before.
But all of us did it together last year. And it was so good.
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. And we thought we had like these bets going on, like the over-under of people like closing their doors on us.
Exactly.
Because it's also like in the peak of COVID, so we didn't know, we couldn't touch anybody or whatever. Anna kept running up to the door to give the person a hug, to wish them Merry Christmas. And they'd be like, "Ooh, don't touch me." It's like, wow, 3-year-old girl saying no to a hug. Anyway, but almost everybody loved it.
Yes.
I think we had one.
There was one guy who you could tell patiently suffered through it.
Right.
He was nice about it, but you could tell like that's not what he wanted.
Right.
Not right at that moment.
But we did
anyway.
So I loved your strategy that you brought up how to do it. Is you start singing, and then you ring the doorbell.
Yeah, ring the doorbell and start. You want to be singing before they open the door,
so that way
I think you want to.
You want to give them an out. You want to give them an out.
Like if they don't want to open the door, that's okay. That's okay for me.
Right.
And that's okay for you. Right? Like if you don't want to open the door, I also don't want you to open the door. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like
You know what's coming, so you hear the songs.
you can hear right exactly. Then make that choice. But almost everybody opened the door with like excitement, like Christmas carolers.
Right. And what did Pamela bring? A little treat that they brought, some kind of cinnamon sticks or something like that.
I forget. Yeah, the kids would like go.
So the
pass
kid
them out.
would go. You know, one of the
them.
kids it would take turns.
One lady brought us cookies.
Right. It was awesome.
She had the biggest tray of cookies I'd ever seen. So anyway, it was just so much fun for the kids. It was so much fun for us. It was so much fun for the neighbors. It was like one of those things where it was like really bringing joy to a lot of people. And I'll bet our neighbors went and talked about it. I'll bet they told
on Facebook
their other
our little
family.
Facebook group that we have for our
Oh
neighborhood.
yeah, our Facebook, but yeah, the neighborhood page.
They were posting on there as we were going as carolers are coming around, and then all the comments were like, "Oh, I hope they can stop by my house.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I hope they stop at my house." So yeah, that is so easy to do.
We did 3 songs. You know, it was so it was
Come Emmanuel.
it was like a 3 or 4 minute stop
Right.
at each one. You know, so it wasn't keeping people for very long.
It was "O Come Emmanuel." I can't remember the second one, and then "We Wish You a Merry Christmas."
Right.
Away in a manger.
Away in a manger.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was really fun.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about some other Advent ideas.
Okay.
So I got these ideas most of these ideas come from this book that we have, Around the Year with the Von Trapp Family. It's by Maria Augusta Von Trapp.
Mm-hmm.
From like the Von Trapp family.
Right.
Not a coincidence. It's from the same family. She had just some really great ideas in here. One of them, Juan, I know I put this in here for Juan. It's called Christkinder. It means Christ child.
In German.
Yeah. But basically, outside of America, especially Latin America, there's a tradition that it's baby Jesus. In fact, before I continue, we need to put out a warning that we might be talking about certain Christmas traditions for adults and children. So, we'll be right back. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Spoiler alert. Not a spoiler alert. I realized, like, wait. I was about to say,
Don't do it.
it's baby Jesus who, hang on a second. Because I know people like to listen with their kids, to the show sometimes.
So can I tell you a story that is not related to this at all, but I wanted to tell you guys, and I meant to tell you, and for the people who are listening live, they get to hear this.
You cannot.
I'm going to anyway.
The 2 people that are alive.
Okay, perfect. This is for you guys. So Jude's birthday was like last Sunday. We went to Holy Mass, and then we went out to dinner or lunch with him, right? With the family to celebrate his birthday. We typically don't go out to eat on Sundays, but it just his birthday fell on a Sunday, so we're going to go eat on a Sunday. We were out eating lunch, celebrating my son's birthday. All four of my kids, Haley and myself, and we were in the trendy hipster part of town, like downtown.
I don't know why you go there.
Yeah, first of all, that was mistake number 1. The guy behind us, sitting at the table, says, and he's not talking to me, but he's talking about us. He's talking loud enough to where I can hear him, but he's not talking to me. And he's looking at the people at the table that he's with, and he goes, "You know what the problem is with families these days? They have more than 2 to 3 kids." And I'm like, I'm sitting right here with my family of 6. With
4 kids.
4 kids. What are you trying to prove here, buddy?
Mm-hmm.
And I started listening to him instead of paying attention to my kids, because it kind of,
It'd be hard not to.
yeah, it was really kind of getting my blood boiling. I was listening. He was going on and on about how overpopulation and all this BS about the problem with people these days is that they're having too many kids, they can't support them, and but I mean, he was just going on and on and on about it, and he was talking loud enough to where it was very clear. I think he was hoping that I would hear. And man, I wanted to say something really bad, but I didn't. because I didn't want to ruin Jude's birthday. I almost stood up and said something to him, and then I thought, well, if I do that, that's going to be what is remembered on his birthday.
It's a trap. It's a trap anyway.
Right.
There is no winning that scenario.
So I didn't. I just bit my tongue and just went back to my family and just tried my best to tune him out. But I mean, what a lie that is that people are believing these days that that children are bad. I posted that on or tweeted that the other day when it happened, and people were like, "You should have stood up and said like, which one of these two should not exist?
Mm-hmm.
Out of my family. Which
one should I get rid of, sir?
Right.
You've convinced me.
Right.
And obviously, since you're a prophet, I need you to help me make a few more decisions.
Just goes to show you just the culture of death these days, and just how people the sanctity of life is just non-existent, and people look at children as burdens instead of blessings. It's just frustrating.
Right.
It's just sad. It's really it's
really
sad.
sad.
It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I did saw a study. I forget the name of the university, but the study proved that in South America, a family of 8 consumes less than a family of 4 in America, as far as like food, things that are disposable or just anything. The outcome is like, and it's just how much of that is just. I bet you families with only 1 or 2 kids will spend as much money as one with 3 or 4, because you're having to constantly buy and do all this stuff. When it's that mentality of like, oh, less is gonna be somehow saving the world more is also a false.
Yeah, I mean, there's
false.
a lot of merit there that with your 2 kids, especially your boy and your girl, you buy that boy some jeans. He outgrows them. What do you do with them? Maybe you give him to Goodwill. And maybe they go to Goodwill and maybe they sit there for a long time. Maybe somebody else buys them. You don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
In that family of like 8 or 9, that pair of jeans will be worn until it is shredded.
Right.
I mean, like, you want to talk about not wasting anything. It's those families, who hand everything down, who...
Yep.
I mean...
Anyway, I didn't want to take that time up on the actual show, but I meant to tell you guys that.
I'd have punched him.
What would Jesus
I
do?
would not
He
have.
would flip his table over
That's
and
right.
run him out with whips.
Get thee behind me, Satan.
All right, let's keep rolling.
Yeah, and hang on, because, there's also, like, you can do the math about the population, and it's something like this. It might not be exactly this, but if I'm not exactly right, I'm very close. You could take every person in the world and put them all in the state of Texas. And a family of 4, I think, gets a 1/4 acre. All the people in the world
I've heard this, yeah.
get a 1/4
I don't know
acre.
if it's true or not, but I've
family,
heard this.
every family of 4 every 4 people gets a 1/4 acre. So you have 16 people on every acre in the world. And that leaves the entire planet empty, except for Texas. So it's like, there is no overpopulation problem.
If
That's
you're watching
totally a myth.
online, just tell us if we're wrong.
I mean, am I wrong?
Am I wrong?
If you think you were
It's
wrong,
the worst.
send David an email to.
Yeah. David at stmichaelradio.com.
There you go.
I have a really good spam blocker. Blocks basically every email,
Including mine.
including the real ones. I love it so much. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan. We're talking about Advent. I just want to reiterate our warning that we were starting. We are going to be talking about Christmas traditions, some of which that are traditions for children, which we have in America that they don't have in other countries. So if you want your children to continue to practice these traditions, maybe they should stop listening.
I feel like that was sufficient.
Yeah, so
I think everybody knows what we're talking about.
I also want to give them time, you know, give them a good 5 seconds. So anyway,
Because we're talking about Santa Claus.
yeah. So they have this Christkinder. I think I'm saying that right. It doesn't look like that's how you say it, but I had the thing say it. That's what they said. So basically that baby Jesus is the one who brings the presents, not Santa. This is how Juan grew up. He grew up with little present bringing baby Jesus. I don't know what it would look like to see a baby carrying a bag of presents. In my mind, he still has a red bag. He's just carrying Santa's red bag. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's how she had to eventually merge them, because Santa made it to Venezuela when I was like, 9 or 11, and
It's a tricky time.
all of a sudden she had to like explain who was Santa, and she's like, well, baby Jesus sometimes gets tired, so he has to get on Santa's sled.
So he tag teams
So
with
that
Santa.
And until I remember seeing in Disney Channel the Santa Claus, the movie Santa
Oh, yeah,
Claus,
Tim
yeah.
Allen.
Tim Allen, and I was like, Mom, I don't see baby Jesus anywhere in this thing.
Oh, Disney ruins everything.
That's because Americans are stupid. That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah. I mean, am I wrong?
Am I wrong? The next person who says that to me, like, seriously, I might lose it on them. I hate that. It's just, it's like, yes, you are wrong. Your existence is wrong. So,
That's not true.
what they do in the Von Trapp family, this I thought was a really lovely tradition,
Okay.
is they pass a bowl around that has a piece of paper with everyone's name on it. So they're basically drawing a name, and it's a secret. Okay, so it's sort of like Secret Santa. This is like a great version of Secret Santa. And I have a quote here because I thought the way she said it was just really great. She says, "The person whose name one has drawn is now in one's special care. From this day until Christmas, one has to do as many little favors for him or her as one can. One has to provide at least one surprise every single day, but without ever being found out. This creates a wonderful atmosphere of joyful suspense, kindness, and thoughtfulness." So then she says, like, maybe you find a note that says, in disguised handwriting, "I prayed a rosary for you today." Or maybe they find that their bed has been made. Or maybe, it's like...
We're doing this at work.
Are you?
Yes. Email went out today that we're doing exactly this, except for they said you don't have to do it every single day, but multiple times a week, leading up to the last day that we're there before Christmas break. And the last present, everybody brings in a present with who it's to, and then when they open the present, you have your name in there, inside the present, to let them know, like...
Mm-hmm. That's it's really great. I mean, yeah, you could apply it to the office, but I think there's something really great about doing it at home with your siblings, like...
The more siblings you have...
The more siblings you have, it's definitely... I mean, if you have 2 kids, it's like...
Go back into it.
Gee, I wonder who sister drew, you
Right.
know? Like...
Go and listen to the YouTube Live and Facebook Live, because we had a whole discussion about this in between segments. Something that happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
So, that I thought was really great. That's not really the Christkinder,
But I like that.
but that's how they kind of
Sure.
take the baby. They're like now their own each other's baby Jesus, sort of. There's another one that they do that they call Shelter Seeker, and this is a kind of a spin-off of an old tradition about how Joseph and Mary were looking for space in the inn, and so they have a painting of Joseph and Mary knocking on the inn, and the innkeeper's like, you can tell by the look on his face, saying, "There's no room here,"
Mm-hmm.
And so they will draw 9 people from their family, because they have more than 9 people in their family, and every day the painting moves to that person's room, and so it's like they are receiving Joseph and Mary. So they end up making like a novena out of it, and they'll build a little altar or something for the painting to come, and they're allowed to spend as much time in their room with the painting as they want, as much time as school and like obligations allow. So
According
like,
to your state in life.
so like maybe they'll go have lunch, take their lunch upstairs with the painting, and the idea is that they do it in reparation for uncharitable words that they have said throughout the year, or times when they have not been welcoming. So it's like an act of reparation for your own personal sins. The times when you've been the innkeeper and you didn't welcome the Christ child. I mean, like,
I dig that.
think about what
like
they
that
missed.
idea.
What they missed. The God of the universe could have been born in your crappy little inn,
Right.
you know, and you wouldn't make room for him. So anyway, I really liked that one. And then so that was from the
Von Trapp family.
Von Trapp family. I also just wanted to talk about nativity scenes.
Okay.
The nativity.
I mean, the Protestants they're not pro statues all year, but this is the one time of year that
But
they
I'm-
are pro
I'm
statues.
glad they are. You know, yeah. The nativity scene is way better than Christmas lights. If you have to choose between one of the two, and you don't, the thing is you don't actually. But I love putting up Christmas lights.
By the way, your house looks great.
Thank you.
Looks great.
I tried extra hard this year.
Yeah.
It didn't fall off the roof.
It went well.
I had a couple moments where I was
A little nervous about
on
it.
the edge of my roof, leaning forward over the, it's like I'm already slanted downwards, and now I have to like lean forward, thinking like, is this worth it?
Is this worth dying over?
Right. Like, I also had the thought like, I need more life insurance. But I don't, and I say this as someone who doesn't have a manger scene in my front yard. I would love to have one. They're kind of hard to find. And some of them are just kind of kitsch, I think,
Yeah, I don't
But-
like the cheap looking
but
ones.
even I think
or the dinosaurs with the table saw.
yeah, or ones that they do like at the Vatican, or
Yeah, I don't like any of those. Those have been swings and misses for several years.
I thought it's like, you know what? I said to myself last year, I'm not going to bring up this ridiculous nativity scene that they have here at the Vatican. I have no idea who's in charge up there of the Vatican, of who's picking the manger scenes.
Fire them. I don't know who it is.
But that was the worst thing I'd ever seen. And I had other Protestants coming. I had Protestant people that I know asking me about it, and it was embarrassing.
It is.
Like, it's like, look, I have no idea.
It was just a great opportunity to evangelize, and we just missed that opportunity.
I mean, it's like,
We just missed it.
anyway, the nativity scene is so great, and especially if you can get one that has a removable baby Jesus, that's really hitting the sweet spot right there, because you can take the baby Jesus out, and people are going to ask you about it. Protestants they don't get that, but
They get it.
no, I think a lot of times they don't. I have one at work without the baby Jesus in it, and people ask me like, "Hey, you're missing your baby Jesus." It's like, no, I'm not missing the baby Jesus. I have baby Jesus hidden away in this drawer. Baby Jesus ain't here yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not Christmas. Obviously, I'm painting with broad brushes when I use the term Protestants, okay? But veneration of the nativity is one of the oldest traditions in the church. So there are accounts of the earliest Christians going to Bethlehem to venerate the actual manger scene, which, if you lived in the area, would be really cool. It's hard to do that as an American, but so it's a super, super old tradition to have and venerate the manger scene, and you just can't have too many of them. You can have an outside one, you can have a living room one, you can have a dining room one, you can have a bedroom one. I mean, like
A backyard one.
yeah, dude, that's like hitting. That's when you're really like firing on all cylinders. It's like, you have a backyard nativity set. Yeah, that's for me. That one's mine.
These are all for my family. This one's mine.
This one's me.
Yeah.
That's why it's the best. But it's a great thing. It's a thing that really takes all of the accoutrement of Christmas and it focuses it in the right direction. Because the Christmas light thing is really great. And actually they're Advent lights, right? I mean, because we're putting them up now. Let's be honest, they're not Christmas lights. That's fine. I still like doing them. But there's nothing about it that says Jesus. Unless you have like a light up Jesus sign, like that would be something that
Or a
literally
cross.
says Jesus. Or even a star is really
star.
great. Yeah. But having the manger scene is just so awesome. Especially if it's like big and you can like have your wise men slowly moving across the yard.
Right.
You know, like
That-
every day. You know that I would do that. Absolutely. I would measure like, all right, it's 25 feet.
Oh yeah, you'd get.
That means it's
a little ridiculous.
8
what
inches
you
a
do.
day.
Right.
8 inches a day, baby.
But you let you let your children that be part of their chore or their responsibility for the day is you get to
Yeah.
move.
Here's the measuring tape. Move it 8 inches.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really
Don't
cool.
let me catch you moving at 10 inches.
Obviously, the Advent wreath is
Oh, yeah,
is-
of course, the
is,
Advent
is
wreath.
a great way to celebrate. You know, you can do that right before dinner time. Have a prayer. You know, before dinner, it sets the tone of the evening dinner. That's always a good one.
Let me tell you the problem I have with the Advent wreath. You know, there's the first candle. It's the one directly across from the pink candle. You can't light that candle every single day at dinner. There's going to be no purple candle left halfway through Advent. You've got to
gotta
share first
'em up.
candle responsibilities.
Right. We're running out of time on the radio, so if you could go to thecatholicmanshow.com, you'll check out the rest of this episode because I do have a question that I want to ask you that I have not asked you or prepped you for. I'm seeking some advice
I'm ready.
regarding Christmas and how to help your children understand it. So, we're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to Jesus.
Cheers. Okay, Juan, I'd also like your input
Hang on,
here. Okay,
because I have one more thing about the Advent wreath.
please. Also, did you know
No, I did this.
you did this, not this?
You said the same thing I did, except you did this. No, I
No,
did this.
The Advent wreath, I think, is from a Protestant origin.
Hmm.
Did you know this?
Well, you know what
Advent
else?
candle, the Advent wreath candles.
So is Christkinder.
Well, when it's German, it's like
Right. It was it was majorly promoted by Martin Luther. So I couldn't I don't know if he invented the idea, but I couldn't find I couldn't find
That would
someone
make
promoting
sense.
it before him.
that would make sense though because he was not for the veneration of saints. Saint Nicholas, like he would be trying to get away from Saint Nicholas.
They don't venerate saints? I mean, they name their churches after them.
Well, they don't pray to saints.
They don't? The
Well-
Lutherans? I think they do.
I don't know. Maybe I don't want to speak. I'm not sure.
Okay. Fair enough. But I couldn't
There's also
find
a lot of different
I
types of
couldn't
Lutherans.
find-
So
anyone promoting the idea prior to Luther, so it could have been him. Anyway, but Advent. So here's my thing with the Advent candles. Like I was saying, it is ridiculous that they just expect these. I mean, I get it. You paid $2 for this pack of 4 candles. You don't expect them. They're not obviously not beeswax.
just get beeswax.
What I want to do,
Just make your own.
but also
Just be a man.
after that first year, a beeswax candle, okay, well, one of those purple candles you only lit for maybe 3 days. You see what I'm saying? You have basically a full candle. Some of
You
them's
get to use
half
that
of
one.
a candle.
You get to carry that one over.
It just doesn't look good. It's not beauty. When you're starting Advent and you've got janky burnt up candles. Okay, I want to make a set of candles
that don't
that
burn
are
down.
numbered, that have
Longer and
varying
shorter.
degrees of beeswax in them, so that the first candle is designed so that you burn it 45 minutes a day, and throughout the whole of Advent, and by the end of Advent, it has burned down. So it obviously has the most beeswax in it. And then the next one has less, so that
And
it
the
will
next one has
burn,
a little less, and the next one have a little
and so
less.
that they will burn progressively faster. So that at the end of Advent,
They're
ideally,
all
you've got burnt
burned
up
down.
candles that are all about the same.
I dig.
If somebody else does that, now that I spilled my idea, you have to send me $1,000. I want your first 1,000. You can have the rest, because I'm lazy. You can do the work, but I want 1,000.
You have to say trademark in order for it to be.
Trademark.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. And it's
Binding.
There.
you can't just declare it.
I declare bankruptcy. That was not Michael Scott. That was more like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yeah.
Michael Scott impression. That was Scrooge doing Michael Scott.
That it can be done.
Okay, now whatever the thing was that you were gonna say.
Okay, so here's the issue that I have at Christmas time with my family. I have a big family. I am
When you say that, do you mean that you have people in your family are big?
sure. and I also have a big family in number.
You mean like extended or directly?
Extended in kind and number.
Okay.
I'm blessed that almost all of my grandparents are still alive currently.
Uh-huh.
And so as you grow older, your family grows, right? You take on a family, you bring on family, you still have your family.
Mm-hmm.
When I grew up, I had 4 Christmases every year because I had three sets of grandparents. My mom and dad separated and remarried before I was even born. So I have 3 sets of grandparents and then my parents. Now, because we're married, I have extended family from on the other side that I also have to go to. We're trying our best to juggle all of these Christmases, right? Because you don't know how many more Christmases you'll have with the grandparents.
Sure.
You want to make memories. You want it's a blessing for my children to be with my grandparents, their great grandparents during Christmas, to have memories of them.
Right.
So you want to do this.
But also your kids are young, right? They're at like the perfect Christmas age. You know what I mean? And so like you want them to be able to have memories
of
with
them.
their grandparents too.
Right.
And
so then what ends up happening is you have 8 Christmases scheduled.
I love it. I think that sounds amazing.
Well, here's the problem.
For a kid.
Here's the problem with it. What you end up teaching your child, whether directly or indirectly, like whether you want to or not, is what Christmas is you run to the one family to have dinner really quick or lunch really fast, open presents, put them all in the van, to run to the next place, to eat dinner, to have presents, to throw them all in the van, to go to the next place, to have lunch, open presents, to go to the next. And so you don't ever actually get to spend quality time with anybody because all you're doing is, okay, we made it, good, now we can all sit down and eat. You have an hour to eat at the dinner table. You have an hour or two, opening presents or whatever. You're throwing them all in, and then you're getting to the next place. And so you don't ever want to leave anybody out. The issue is that you want to be able to spend actual quality time. What ends up happening is you don't have to spend any quality time with anybody. You do everything for everybody, which means you do nothing for nobody almost. Mm-hmm. It just becomes all you're teaching your child is, what Christmas is we go eat and get presents, eat and get presents, eat and get presents.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not what you want to teach your children. That's like what Christmas is. It's very hard to keep the spirituality of Christmas, to keep the reason for the season, when it is just filled with material possessions, and then also just this stress that everybody feels, whether you try to negate it or not, of hurry, we got to go because we got to get to the next place. They're waiting on us. Hurry, come on, bud, let's go. And I just don't know how to combat it. It's like I don't know how to not let that happen, because I don't want to cut somebody out of Christmas time, right? It's like, oh, sorry, Grandma and Grandpa, we're not going over to your house because we would like to spend quality time with this side of the family. Especially right now in this weird time that I am in my life, because I still have my grandparents around and they're obviously getting up in age. So you never know, which Christmas is their last one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, what would you advise, how to combat this, or how to keep the idea of what Christmas really is when this is happening?
So, we both have a mutual friend, Derek Lissy.
Yes.
He telling me about some things that they do in Christmas that I had never really considered before, because to me, like, Christmas, it should, you do it with spending time with family. Like, that's kind of one of the things that Christmas is about, but he kind of opened my eyes a little bit about that. He said, very often on Christmas, they stay home. They don't go anywhere. And that they have Christmas together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, the next day, maybe they'll go visit people. And you just have to give yourself permission to do that. We're going to celebrate Christmas as a family. We're going to do it. We're not going to do that whole rat race of, like, having to get to everybody. Because it is like, oh, you went and saw them, but you didn't come see us,
Right.
So you just say, no, this is a choice we've made. We're not actually going to see anybody on Christmas. We're going to take this time as a family, and we're going to be with just each other. Now that is going to go over more or less bad in different families.
Yeah. For mine, it would go over terrible.
Yeah, sure.
Because the tradition has always been you have Christmas morning as a close, as your family, and then Christmas afternoon, in the afternoon
Right.
you go with extended family.
Yeah, that's kind of what we do too. I mean, but then
So
I
that'd be
think
really
then I
hard.
think don't cram it in. I mean,
But you can't. I mean, how do you not? Because we actually start a week before Christmas. So we go and have Christmas a week before Christmas at either my in-laws or some of my extended family, because we can't fit it all in. It is literally impossible. So we start a week before, and we go to Christmas, and then we go a week after. And last year we went 3 weeks after, because it was just the only time we could all get together.
yeah, I think that's fine. Depending on, how many days you want to count Christmas, there's an octave of Christmas, but then Christmas lasts 12 days. But also you could say the Christmas season goes like till February 2nd or something.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a long time to visit everybody, and just take it slow.
Yeah, I know.
You know, the thing
Because
is,
you're not going to ever please everybody. The problem
No,
is
no,
then,
you won't.
then they're like, oh, well, we're not actually doing it during Christmas.
yes, we are. You have to tell them, yes, we are. You have to make them
know.
not think that.
I know, it's really tough.
Because
It's tough because
the Christmas
you're
season.
you're going against the grain.
You are.
With your
Yeah.
it's just tough.
And my advice would be also to consolidate or decrease the number of gifts. And if you're going to be with family,
Yeah.
then make it be about family, not about gifts. Growing up, we just did, it's like we had like one or maybe two big gifts. So it's like, hey, I want to get this really nice thing for the boys. All these six sets of grandparents, why don't you all pitch in and get this for my boys? Instead of saying like, oh, each one is going to get his gift.
Mm-hmm.
Because just number-wise.
Grandparents don't like that though. They want to have a present for this is my present to your kid, and we actually do a lot of that. We consolidate a lot because once you get past a certain age, we just say no presents. But the problem is when you have big families and you have tons of kids, even if they have 2 presents each, let's just say 2 presents each, and we always do everybody opens one at a time so that way you can see what everybody's getting. It's not just a frenzy of tearing presents and wrapping paper
agree.
going everywhere.
It's like piranhas.
Right.
The first time I encountered the frenzy, I was offended.
A little offended. Yeah. So even if you have only 2 presents per kid, but you still have 15 kids there, that still takes a long time. That still takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
So we do consolidate because basically what happens is now only kids and grandparents get presents, basically. Because the grandparent, you want to get something for your grandparents. So it's just tough. It is just it's something that I don't know how to, because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and because you're also dealing with other people's families too, right? So it's not just about your family; it's about accommodating other people's families as well. Because it's like, well, our family, nobody can do it on this day, so we're gonna do it a week after. Okay, so then it's like, well, I can't do it a week after because I have to go over here to this person's. Then I'm gonna miss yours. So you're trying to coordinate with a crazy amount of families without getting anybody's feelings hurt. It's just, to me, it is very hard a lot of times to actually enjoy Christmas, except for the Christmas morning when I get to see my kids open presents and come down the stairs and things like that. Outside of that, it's very hard for me to enjoy Christmas because we are just so go.
Sure.
And I don't know how to combat. A time will obviously fix this problem, right? Because my grandparents aren't going to live forever. So as families, grow older and grandparents pass on, and, time, some time may free up. So you don't want to be selfish and say no, we're doing this for our family. I know grandma and grandpa that this could be your last Christmas to see them your great grandkids during Christmas time, but we're not going to do that. I mean, I don't feel like that's right.
Well, but at the same time, it's really about your kids. I mean, at least your question was about how to teach them, and that's when you differentiate. This is Christmas Day. Guess what? Now we're in the Christmas octave. We're celebrating Christmas season, but it's not Christmas Day. Christmas Day is when the incarnation happened, and that's just one day. I'm just trying to keep the focus there, and explain them how these other visits, we're still celebrating, the birth of Jesus, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I just think
Words matter.
I think you just don't try to do it too fast. I mean, what are you gonna do? What does anybody else want you to do?
Be at their Christmas.
And also, it's like
That's what everybody
with
wants you to
grandparents.
do.
I would say like, hey, can we come pick you up and bring you to mom's house? We're all getting together.
And that happens some, but
try to get more of them together so that you have fewer stops.
right. But that doesn't always work
yeah.
because they're not always close.
Well, I mean, you can't be expected to go see everybody all the time for every holiday.
False.
Well, sorry, I mean,
False.
False.
Black bears.
Look. Check the Minahan family.
yeah. I mean,
it's just tough because you don't actually want to leave anybody out, right? You don't want to not be at their place. You don't want to not spend time with them. I don't know how to do that. And what ends up happening and what I worry about is what the lives that we're living to do this, what it portrays to our children, what Christmas really is. And that's what I get nervous about. That's what I'm internally struggling with.
I would say if Jesus were the one making this decision,
So you're speaking on behalf of Jesus?
I'm saying what I would say he would do is he would probably prioritize the people who are loneliest first. So, like, if there's a person in your family who's like, well, if we don't go see them, nobody will come and visit. They will have no visitors on Christmas, throughout Christmas.
Yeah, that's non-existent.
Okay. Well, then it doesn't sound like it's really much of a... I mean...
For at least my family.
If they really want to see you, then invite them to come to you.
Yeah, that's just to me, that's a selfish mentality.
No, it isn't. You have 4 kids. They don't. They
Right.
literally have nothing going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's actually not selfish. It's about what's serving the good of your family. I mean, it's actually not selfish. Don't be selfish about it, but asking someone to like, hey, could you come to us? We would love to see you. We'd like to invite you over.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes it a whole lot easier on the family. I understand that, like, it's, there's a thing about honoring grandparents, they're the elders, don't make them travel, like, if they can't travel, that's something to be considered, right? But if they can, it sure would be nice if they would come over to you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was trying to think, why can't I give you any good advice? Well, because growing up, first of all, everybody just got together for Christmas. It was like 60 people party.
I have a feeling that
And-
your Christmases and my Christmases looked so different.
And number 2, remember, baby Jesus brought the gifts. So everybody just got one gift because the gift was from baby Jesus. I didn't have...
You guys didn't get each other gifts?
No. I didn't have, 16 gifts from all my different parents and cousins.
Oh, wow.
No. Baby Jesus brought me one gift.
Mm.
And like I said, it was a nice gift. And later in life, I found out, well, it's because everybody pitched in. I actually have a nice story about a friend of mine that I think we were in like 4th or 5th grade. And this is the time that you kind of like stop believing or not believing. And she was like,
That's the problem, is you stop believing in Jesus. It's
Exactly.
It's one thing you stop believing in Santa Claus, but I figured out this old Jesus guy,
Yeah.
he doesn't exist. It's been my parents the whole time.
But anyway, she told me, it's like, listen, there is no way that baby Jesus is my parents because we are a poor family. And for Christmas, I'm getting like Nintendo 64 games. And these things that I know we would just never be able to afford. But it was like the entire family was getting together to buy these girls one really, really nice gift.
Uh-huh.
And here she was in like 6th grade. And like, still,
No, guys.
it's like, listen, you tell me this, but I'm telling you, we are poor.
Tell me how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
So either my dad is a thief,
Or Jesus is bringing us
or
presents.
baby Jesus is bringing us presents. Those are the only two options, and he's not a thief.
Man, how far are we going, Juan? Currently, at some point, maybe.
107, not mucho.
Well, maybe we'll save this, but we should tell the story of our dads with Santa Claus. Maybe next week.
Have we not told that story?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
I think we have.
I
We
think
could.
we have, but it was a long
It'd
time
be worth
ago.
telling again.
I mean,
We've
we've been doing this for 5 years. I
so,
mean,
yeah.
Heaven
So-
forbid we say something twice.
right? So yeah, so let's hold off on that one because that'll be
Yeah.
a good story for. But don't let us forget one. Don't let us forget to tell the Santa Claus story.
We'll do it next week.
Okay. We have Cy Kellett coming on.
Or the week after.
Yeah, the week after because we have Cy Kellett coming on next week.
Pretty psyched.
Pretty psyched.
See what I did there? I'm gonna just totally kill it at the comedy conference. It's just I'm just gonna. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna win. I don't know. Is there an award ceremony afterwards?
You know what? I'm gonna make one
win.
for you.
I'm gonna win. Thank you. I will accept it. I will start preparing my speech.
Good.